I first heard the gospel in Atlanta, Georgia, when I was 16 years old, in a house church, while I was living in Decatur. And I didn't get saved at the moment, but I believe that's when the Lord really began to pursue me. That's the first time I kind of heard that I was a sinner in need of grace, and that God had, beef with my lifestyle. Um, God began to pursue me after that, and I for like 3 or 4 years, when I spent those years just kind of like running away from like what I felt like the Lord was doing. When I was 19, I was living in Georgia, and a friend of mine was shot and killed. He like literally died in my arms, and God used that experience to draw me back to my hometown, Chicago. When I got back to my hometown, Chicago, it was this guy that I kind of knew growing up named Gary Brown, who who's known in the streets. He was a gang member, you know what I'm saying, sold drugs, lived a crazy lifestyle. But when I came back to Chicago, God had radically changed his life. He was a Moody student at the time, young cat, 23, 24, one of those. And I was like 19, 18, 19. And he took me under his wing, and he began to disciple me. He took me everywhere he went, on road trips to New York, out of state. Took me places I never, I never even dreamed about going. And through his lifestyle, I began to see just the weight of my sin, and also I just saw that God was calling me, and he just taught me about godliness. And I just remember crying out in my room one day, like, Lord, I want to love you like Gary loves you. And at that time, I didn't know that was repentance. I didn't even know what repentance was, but now looking back at it, it was like me recognizing that I was a sinner, that everything that I did in the past deserved death. But God equally was offering me grace and mercy through his son, Jesus Christ. I think discipleship is major. I think it's major. I think nobody is called to live this life, this Christian life, in isolation. Nobody is called to live this life alone. God gave us community for a reason. He gave us the body. He established his church for a reason. And in that, I think that when you have people who are older than you, wiser than you in the faith, who can come along and train you in godliness, walk through you in godliness, walk through you in just all kind of areas of life. I think it's really, really big, because when God saves us, he saves us, but also he saves us in the confounds of a community, of a body. And in that body is people who can walk with us, who are wise and more mature than us, to help us and navigate us through our faith. I think discipleship looks like life on life, like literally doing life with people. Because Gary, he just didn't, meet with me on Starbucks every Tuesday, and have a little Bible study with me. No, I was like, I'm going to the store, Preston, come with me. Or I'm come over to my family house. We finna have, dinner. And like through his life, I was able to follow him and just see how he lived life. And I saw godliness through his life. And I think that's what Jesus did with the disciples. He didn't have Bible study with them every now and then. He just said, come follow me.